Hello and welcome to Right Sports Talk. My name is Zach. We've officially made it through the entire NFL regular season. In Week 18, I went 9-7 with my picks, which gave me an overall record to end the season at 177 and 95. But now time for the playoffs. You can pretty much throw most records out the window. Any team left now has everything to play for. It's all passed for these teams leading the Super Bowl right now. Let's get into these picks for these wildcard games. Wildcard weekend kicks off this Saturday with the Los Angeles Chargers, who finished the season 11-6, taking on the Houston Texans, who finished the season 10-7, and the Texans were the AFC South champions. The Chargers coming off of a victory over the Las Vegas Raiders that clinched up the 5 seed for them. In the AFC, the Houston Texans coming off a victory over the Tennessee Titans. My pick for this game is going to be the Chargers. The Chargers, they seem like a team that is really built to compete and play well in the playoffs. They're a team that has a very good run game and a very good defense. This run game, especially when J.K. Dobbins has been healthy this season, has performed very well, and that helps really much set up Justin Herbert, who is a very good quarterback, to make some plays. And this Houston Texans team, they've been struggling offensively as the season has gone on. If they struggle on first and second down, which is a pretty common thing for them in games. They've kind of run out of playmakers for third down situations. If a team can slow down Joe Mixon on the first 2 downs, and the Texans really only have one big option on third down, which is Nico Collins, because they're very limited on their playmakers. As one of their starting wide receivers, Stephon Diggs, has been out since October, and a couple of weeks ago, one of their other starting receivers, Tank Dell, suffered a season-ending knee injury as well. So they're without 2 of their top 3 pass catchers. And although Nico Collins is very good, I think the Chargers can kind of game plan for him and can do a good job of limiting him in this game. And offensively, the Houston Texans, their pass protection has not been the best all season. C.J. Stroud has been pressured. Defenses have been able to kind of disrupt C.J. Stroud and get after him. And I think this Chargers team, especially with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, will be able to do that. I think that they'll be able to out physical on this Houston Texans team and be able to get after C.J. Stroud defensively and offensively run the ball. So I think the Los Angeles Chargers get the victory here and move on to the next round. Next up, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 10-7, taking on the Baltimore Ravens, who are 12-5. The Pittsburgh Steelers are coming off of a loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, which they actually ended their season on a 4-game losing streak. One of those 4 losses being to the Baltimore Ravens a few weeks ago. And the Ravens coming off of a victory over the Cleveland Browns, which locked up the AFC North division for them and allowed them to be the 3 seed for this game, or for the AFC playoffs. So these are 2 teams. This is an AFC North rivalry game, so they've played each other twice this year. Pittsburgh won the first matchup earlier in the year. Obviously, the Ravens won the second matchup. So this being an AFC North battle, it could go either way. The Baltimore Ravens will actually be without wide receiver Zay Flowers for this game, as he is out with a knee injury that he suffered against Cleveland. But I think that the Baltimore Ravens get the victory against the Steelers. I think very similar to how they played the most recent time they played. If they can get Derrick Henry going and Lamar Jackson going in this offense, I think they have a very good shot here. And defensively, the Steelers didn't have George Pickens the last time these 2 teams played, but against the Bengals this past week, George Pickens was held to 1 catch, had no yards, just could not get anything going. I think the Ravens, if they can really get into George Pickens' head early, they can take him out of the game. So I think they're going to be able to offensively get going with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And defensively, I think they can slow down this Steelers run game. It's really kind of been lackluster at the back end of the season, and try to force Russell Wilson to beat you with his arm without a run game, which has not worked very well for the Steelers. So I do think the Baltimore Ravens get the victory here and they advance to the next round. Now, moving on to Sunday games, you have the Denver Broncos, who are 10-7, taking on the Buffalo Bills, who are 13-4. The Denver Broncos barely snuck into the playoffs. They beat the Chiefs, most of the Chiefs backups this past week to get that 7th seed in the for the AFC side of the bracket. And the Buffalo Bills, who had the 2 seed locked up after week 17, are in week 18 played mainly their backups and are coming off the loss to the Patriots, which doesn't really affect the Buffalo Bills that much. My pick for this game is going to be Buffalo, but I think this could be a closer game and more of an exciting game than people think, because this Denver Broncos defense has played very well. Patrick Surtain has been a top 5 corner in the NFL this year. This Broncos pass rush has been very good. Zach Allen is, I think, top 5 in pressures. So this defense, I think, can do a good job of slowing down Josh Allen, and this Bills offense has really run through Josh Allen. And on offense for the Broncos, Bo Nix has played very well. I think their biggest downfall is going to be the fact that they have had not much of a run game at all this season. There have been multiple games where Bo Nix has been their leading rusher. This is also a game that is pass rusher Von Miller for the Buffalo Bills. He's playing his old team. The Denver Broncos are the team that drafted Von Miller all the way back in 2011. He was the Super Bowl MVP back in Super Bowl 50, which is the last time the Broncos made the playoffs. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl that year. So I think this is kind of a personal game for him. And he's not looking, he's got no ill will against the Denver Broncos, but he wants to come out and have a big game. I think that this Buffalo defense could be the biggest difference maker in this game. Because I think if they can get after Bo Nix early, he is a young quarterback, they can rattle him. Obviously the Broncos haven't had much of a run game, so I don't think the Bills really have to worry about that. So I think defensively, rattle Bo Nix, get him off rhythm. Offensively, I think Josh Allen can do enough to get the team the victory in this game, even though this Broncos defense has been very good. But ultimately, I think that the Buffalo Bills wind up with the victory and what could be a very close game. Next up, you have the Green Bay Packers, who are 11-6, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 14-3. The Green Bay Packers are coming off of a loss to the Chicago Bears this past week. The Eagles, coming off of a victory over the New York Giants. It was mainly their backups playing because the week before they had locked up the 2 seed in the NFC, so they had rested Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts coming off of a concussion, but it looks like he's going to play in this game. For Green Bay, there's one of their starting wide receivers, Christian Watson, suffered a torn ACL against Chicago, so he's not going to be available. And Jordan Love actually got a little banged up in that game. He left with an elbow injury, but he looks like he's going to play in this game, but he could still be a little bit banged up. So I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles get the victory. These two teams played each other to start the season in week 1. Saquon Barkley had a very good game. In that game, I believe he had 3 touchdowns. And I don't think this one goes much differently. I think Saquon still a very good game against this defense. Offensively, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith have been playing very good, as has Jalen Hurts. Defensively, this defense, I think, will be the biggest X factor for the Philadelphia Eagles. They have been a very, very good pass defense and a very good run defense. I think they can slow down Josh Jacobs. I think they're going to be able to slow down what is in the receiving core. Without Christian Watson, these Packers offense is not as explosive. I think that will really help this Eagles defense. So I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles get the win here. Next up, you have the Washington Commanders, who are 12-5, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 10-7. The Commanders are coming off of a victory over the Dallas Cowboys. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are coming off a victory over the New Orleans Saints, which won them the NFC South and allowed them to actually be the 3 seed in the NFC. This is another two teams that met in week 1 this season. And in that game, Baker Mayfield went off passing. He had 4 passing touchdowns. So he had just a tremendous game. Since then, there have been some changes on each of these teams. The biggest thing, the Washington Commanders have actually finished off the season with a top 5 pass defense. They also, at midseason, traded for cornerback Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. And Marshawn Lattimore has had tremendous success in his career going against Mike Evans when they would play each other twice a year, both being in the NFC South. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are missing one of their key pass catchers from that game in week 1 in Chris Godwin. He got injured earlier in the season with a season-ending ankle injury. So I actually do think that the Commanders can win this game and will win this game. I think Marshawn Lattimore can really slow down Mike Evans. And although Jalen McMillan is very good, I don't think that he will be good enough against this top 5 pass defense. One of the things that can work kind of in the favor of the Buccaneers is that the Commanders have a bottom 5 run defense. So I think if they can get Bucky Irving the ball and Rachaad White the ball and can get their run game going, they have a very good chance here. But the biggest reason I think the Commanders get the win is because of their offense and their quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I think he is going to have a very good game, both passing and running, as he is a very mobile quarterback. I think Terry McLaurin can have a very good game against this Buccaneers defense. This Buccaneers defense and the Commanders defense are kind of opposites of each other. The Buccaneers have a top 5 run defense, but a bottom 5 pass defense. I think that will be what really hurts them. I think that will allow Jaden Daniels to kind of pick them apart and Terry McLaurin to have a very good game against them. So I am going to go with the Commanders to get the win and move on to the divisional round. Now, the last game of Wild Card Weekend is actually a Monday night game between the Minnesota Vikings, who are 14-3, and the Los Angeles Rams, who are 10-7. The Vikings are coming off of a loss to the Detroit Lions in a game in which the winner of that game won the NFC North and got the number 1 seed in the NFC. Obviously, the Vikings did not win, so they fell all the way down to the 5 seed. So they have to go take on the Los Angeles Rams, who are actually coming off of a loss to the Seattle Seahawks. However, it was a game where they rested a lot of their starters and were kind of content just staying at the 4 seed in the NFC. This is another game where these two teams have met each other earlier in the season. Coincidentally, the last time these two teams met was after the Minnesota Vikings were coming off of a loss to the Detroit Lions and wound up losing to the LA Rams, mainly in part to the Rams' defensive ability to get after Sam Darnold and cause pressure. And actually in that game, the Vikings lost their left tackle for the year. He was their best offensive lineman. And offensively for the Rams, they have continued to play very good. Puka Nacua had a tremendous game against the Minnesota Vikings earlier in the season. Kyron Williams had a very good year, so I think he can kind of play pretty well against this Minnesota Vikings defense. So I actually am going to pick the LA Rams to get the victory here, and not just because I think their offense will have a good game and with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams, but I think defensively they're going to be able to do what they did in that first game and get pressure on Sam Darnold with their very young defensive front with Byron Young and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. I think they'll be able to really cause trouble for him all night or all game. I think they'll be able to slow down Aaron Jones. The biggest issue I think they'll have is trying to cover Justin Jefferson. But against the Lions, Jefferson did not have that good of a game, and it's because the Lions are able to rattle Sam Darnold and get him off of his timing. I think the Rams can do something very similar. So I do think the Rams get the victory and I have them advancing as well into the divisional round. So those are the teams that I see winning. this weekend, advancing into the playoffs. Let me know in the comments who you think's going to win it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, see you.